Hey everybody, it's Arturo. Some of you may know me as Artie, as in Hey Hey It's Artie Home, that Ramones song. I've been involved with the guys for a long time, and we are in the so-called Ramones loft, where I've lived since 1973, and where I met Didi. Didi was the first Ramone I met. He used to come to see a girl that lived right above me. I was painting here most of the time in the daytime. And one day, Didi just opened the door and came in and told me that he had been coming up to see this girl, and he always listened to the music I was listening to, and that he liked it too. And so that's how we met. He kept coming in, and then he started telling me about this band that him and his friends were putting together. So I kind of like, knew about it, was aware of from the very beginning. This was probably the fall of '73. By March '74, he tells me that they're going to have their first show. And he says, oh, it's nothing professional, it's just a private party. So that was the first time the Ramones played, and they played as a trio. That was March 30th of '74. And it was, of course, impossible to realize, just what was about to happen. What they were trying to do, it was still too early, but I immediately detected something very original, very powerful. I've been a rock and roll fan all my life, all my life. Rock and roll has been my guiding light. And so I and by then I was disappointed with what was going on. So the Ramones represented huge potential for something totally unique. So I got hooked. Well, that's what that show at Performance Studios on March of '74 was, their first show ever as a trio. Joey's playing drums. They immediately realized that that was not going to work. They rearranged, they reorganized, and by August of the same year, they do their first show at cbgb's. By then, I was already working. So I was working by the second show, or the first show as the Ramones, really the proper lineup. Because CBGB was right around the corner, and when Didi was told by Richard Lloyd from television that there was this joint on the Bowery that allowed people like them to play, so that's how the Ramones got the idea that they could play there. It happens to be around the corner from me, so they immediately started this immediately became like the place where they would come and hang out and rehearse and all of that. So this became pretty much right away Ramon Central, or their base, the base camp. And then I just started doing whatever needed to be done. I remember the first time we were going to put an ad in the Village Voice. So we said, okay, what are we going to do? We don't have any really good photos. We had a few photos. So what I did was to make a collage. I cut each one of the band members from different photographs and put them together against a white background so they would stand out more. And then I picked that Ramones font, that type of block letter, to make it as readable as possible, because I knew it was going to be very small, and we didn't want anything that looked even remotely as something from the '60s. We didn't want any adornments, unnecessary decorations. So that was the first thing, really, like visually, the first image that I came up with. So any time that something had to be done, it's like, okay, I'll do it. Like the first time they played CBGB's, for instance, Johnny and Didi used to come in carrying their little amps, put it on a chair and plug in and play. But Tommy's drums had to be set up, so that was my first job, setting up Tommy's drums first, because that requires some assembly, So I did that for a while. Then the first time I think Danny Fields was coming to CBGB's to see the band, I said, we have to do something about the lights. And I just took off all the color gels and made it all white lights. So then I was doing the lights then, and that's how it evolved. I guess a very significant contribution that came out of necessity like that was when we were going to California for the first time, we were going to the UK for the first time. The promoter of the record company didn't want to pay for my expenses. So I said, I know how to silk screen. I had taken some classes and I was doing silk screen art, I thought. So anyway, I said, I can print some t-shirts. And I remember Johnny go like, what do you mean? What kind of t-shirts? Ramones t-shirts? I said, yeah. Who the hell is going to buy a Ramones t-shirt? That was Johnny's reaction. I said, well, we have, we can use that eagle that I have in the belt that was used in the first album cover, the back cover. It was a belt that I used to wear. And the Ramones logo had not been created yet, but I was already using that eagle. And so I said, we could use the eagle from the belt. And we started making those, and they sold out immediately, to our surprise. And then they kept on selling. A friend of mine used to joke, says, oh, your t-shirts, they're like Toyotas, they sell themselves. You don't have to do anything, And that's exactly how it was. Nobody was selling shirts on tour. Nobody was doing it. Probably you went to Radio City and you saw, whoever was an established artist, they probably had a program and they had souvenirs, but t-shirts was not something that people bought at a concert at all. And so we kind of pioneered that, Something that turned out to be a little bittersweet for me is the fact that at the end, the Ramones sold a lot more t-shirts than records. The Ramones sold, tens of thousands or a couple of hundred of thousands of some records. But I know for a fact that we sold millions of t-shirts, So that's something that kind of bothers me, even if it pleases me at the same time, It's what I call the betrayal of art by culture. Yeah.